Every week at this time, we have the Sheriff Sit Down in, brought to you by our Community Credit Union. Today, no different. Mason County Sheriff Casey Salisbury, Jail Chief Kevin Hansen. Good morning, guys.
Morning.
Good to see you both here. And talking jail with Chief Hansen here, and the jail's been in the news a little bit. So let's talk a little about some of the issues that have been coming up. We saw a story last week. Shelton Police have a opportunity to get somebody in, and all full up is what the story is. Of course, we talk often about jail capacity, size, and how you can't have certain folks next to other folks. Is that all kind of led into how that works out?
Yeah, I think the thing to keep in mind is, like I said, when I worked here many, many years ago, the jail was full up. And so it's been 30-some years of this going on. This is nothing new. It's just that now our population's increasing, and I don't want to say it's more full up, but it's full up longer.
Uh-huh.
And it's really challenging to move people through the system. And so there's some things that go along with that I think I'll let the chief explain our population numbers and why that is, and why it's, constitutionally and liability-wise, we have to have that cap on the jail. So I'll let you cover that, Chief.
Sure.
Well, we all know that the jail's, probably one of the most high liability areas in the county. When you take 100 inmates or 80 inmates and you stick them in a building together, bad things are going to happen if they're not properly supervised and we don't have the proper space to adequately and efficiently house them. So when we say, there seems to be a little bit of confusion in the community about what a booking restriction is. We have a population cap on the jail. The sheriff set the cap last summer at 80 for general population. Now there's 93 beds there, but the sheriff has said 80 is the cap. So with that being said, people are going to say, well, I can't just stick 93 in there. And I refer back to that little drawing that I showed here a couple weeks ago or several weeks ago about having the hotel that's full, and you have a guy that's arrested for murder. You can't throw him in the same cell as somebody that's in there for DUI.
Sure.
And so I'll just give you a snapshot of this last month's statistics. So the general male population, we have 22 minimum security male beds in the jail. We ran 21.39 last month in those male
pretty close
beds.
to capacity.
Pretty
then.
close to capacity for that area. For medium security, we have 18 beds. We ran 13 inmates in the medium security area. Maximum security area, we have 20 beds, and we ran 18.94. So even though we have 13 extra beds, you can see that those areas are full.
Sure.
In holding cells, we have 6 beds, and we actually had 4 people living in holding cells all last month on average. So temporary beds was people sleeping on the floor. We had 3 people that were sleeping on the floor average per day last month. So even though we have open beds, I can't house people together. I can't house males with females. I can't. So it's kind of a shell game. It's really hard to manage. Also, I ran some data for what our staff has dealt with since January of this last year, and to date we've had 16 use of force situations, meaning we've had to actually lay our hands on inmates to get them to comply or stop fighting or whatever it might be. We had 2 inmate assaults on staff. We've had 92 inmate disciplinary situations, meaning people trying to dig through ceilings and people not following the rules. And we've had 9 inmate suicide attempts. We've had 78 mental health related situations. We've had 50 extraordinary medical events, meaning I feel like I'm having a heart attack or whatever. And the average daily population's been at 78, and the cap's at 80. We've had 10 people in home monitoring on average, and we've had 10 people in the minimum security outside inmate labor area. And the average length of the stay is 12 days and 7 hours.
Oh, wow. Wow.
I think the point behind this is, like I said, in 86 or whatever, I was here the first time. 86 to 90 was a reserve and then a full-time for a while. We had the same problem then. But our population's gone way up. The jail, they did add beds during the time when I wasn't here. But I think the other thing that, kind of learned from Chief Hansen watching that, it's all great to say you've added beds, but if you haven't added washers and dryers and cooking areas and all those things to cover all that, it's just not working the same. And I'm really glad to say that for the first time in I don't know for how long. It's been a long time. We're working with the Commissioner Schuette's been meeting with Kevin and I, Chief Hansen and I. We've met with Grace Harbor. We're looking, not say it's going to happen, we're looking at discussions at possibly a regional jail. We're looking at some other options. I guess the challenging point behind this for people to remember too is that, I hear the other agencies say, well, we can't put anybody in there. The restrictions on our own deputies are more than on those other agencies. At least they've got beds that are guaranteed. Our guys are in that same situation. I think last month, I don't know the exact number, but we were well over 200 arrests that we could not make. I want to say it was in the area 240 arrests that we could not make last month simply because that jail's too full. And remembering on that, if I just went ahead and said, okay, just stack it like cordwood in there, the liability of us, the chances of us getting sued or having somebody get hurt in there, the cost of one of those lawsuits is going to cost more than building a new jail.
Sure.
And so that's what we're working with now. And
And I think that happened. We had a multi-million-dollar lawsuit that we got levied upon the county here a couple years ago, when there was too many people in jail. So sheriff's got to do what he's got to do to protect us and protect the citizens and protect the inmates and the staff. And
We got about a minute left here, and I know, Kevin, before you came to Mason County, you were down in Lewis and were part of the jail build down there. So from the very first memorandum of understanding to when you cut the ribbon or the first inmate went in, how long of a process was that?
it's about between 2 and 3 years.
2 and 3 years.
Yeah.
that's why we're working really hard. I really during the time here, this is one of the last things that I really had on the list of accomplishments I wanted to get done as sheriff, was if nothing else, get this thing started so it follows into the future, and that we do it right. Not like some of the other counties that didn't fund it proper and it sits empty.
Sure.
There's a lot behind this that some people have prescribed that they're missing. I don't want to end up like one of the other counties where it sits for 7 years not usable because of the decision-making process. So, we're really fortunate to have Chief Hansen here, and one of the few people in the state that's actually been a chief and built a new jail to guide us through that. And right now is the time.
Mason County Sheriff Casey Salisbury, Jail Chief Kevin Hansen here for the weekly Sheriff Sit Down, brought to you by our Community Credit Union. Thank you so much, guys. Good to see
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Have a good
Thank you.
week.